I'm not a scientist or a doctor, so I will try to explain as best I can the science behind what I do. This has been the hardest because everyone around me thinks I'm weird and I don't understand either. It's like having a little child inside me trying to get out. I cannot control it. He gets bored easily and likes to play all day. If I don't play, he gets angry and frustrated, but when I play, he is very focused on the game. So as you can see, I have to play all day to keep it calm, because if I don't, he starts yelling at me and telling me to stop playing. But there's another part of me that is very smart. I think I'm one of those children who get diagnosed, and who have always been able to do things that other children couldn't do. When I was younger, one day I said to myself, I'm going to learn to read for tomorrow. Guess what? The next day I already knew how to read. A few years later, as a child, I started reading all the books I could. I read without stopping, and although it took much longer than others to finish reading, I would read the same sentences over and over until I finished understanding what I was trying to say. Reading books ended up becoming an obsession for a long time. I also started to notice that I wanted to write books and tell stories. That was my first spark of creativity that I can remember. Soon I also started to do more crafts. I got to do many of them with few things I had at home, such as paper, napkins, and glue. At the same time, I started liking the drawing, although spoiler, that came to nothing, at least until now. I also started to notice a strong connection with the cinema, because since I was a child I loved watching movies, especially Disney's ones. And one of those days, I turned on the chip in my head that said, hey, I also want to do that. Having said that, I started to make some mini movies since they had a webcam. Then I started to use an iPhone. Years later I bought some Chinese tablets, and then I turned on a more advanced phone. Later my first camera, a video camera, and my passion was to record the travels I had with my family. In fact, I still keep most of the content to my computers. I finished school after going through a lot of problems due to my condition, from concentration problems, bullying, and hyperactivity. But I'll talk more about that later. I went to college and bought my first good camera. I just needed to learn to use it, although that's already a topic for another story apart. The point of all the above is that I've always had an intense passion for the creative part, because a brain with ADHD think outside the box, but I didn't know that until recently. So here I am today. I'm still suffering from ADHD, but I'm better than before. I've learned to control it well using different techniques, such as listening to music. I also have some problems with my own body. For example, I always feel tired if I'm not making anything. I can go through a state called hyperfocus that allows me to store a lot of information in a short time. Essentially, a brain with ADHD works like crazy and can focus on anything for a long period of time. Now you'll ask yourself, why have I made this short film? Well, I want to share my experience with other people who suffer from ADHD so that they realize that they are not alone and that there are ways to face it. I hope my story can help other people who suffer from this very common condition so that they can find their way. My name is Wanjo Alas. I'm an artist, writer, photographer, videographer, and sometimes philosopher. How silly you are! Why can't you make a simple task? The same words were pronounced with an irritable tone. I had heard them many times throughout my life, and I already knew exactly what they wanted to say. I was stupid. I didn't serve for anything. I didn't know how to do anything good. And from then on, I couldn't have real friends who didn't take advantage of my kindness. I was the eldest son in my family. I was born of parents who, at first, had no idea what to do with me. They tried to teach me, but I learned slow, and I was a very hyperactive child at the same time. I felt an uncontrollable urge to rebel and respond in anger. It was hard for me to keep up at school. I was constantly chosen as the last one for sports teams. Although my teachers praised my intelligence, my teammates seemed to ignore me, and they harassed me. They mocked me almost all the time, and I couldn't understand why I deserved all this mistreatment. I was at home crying every day, and I was waiting for my mother to console me. It was fighting against that, and in case it wasn't enough, I was fighting against intrusive thoughts and a constant depression that I never really understood why I had it. I was thinking, why am I sad? Something happens to me. Why am I feeling like this? At the age of 22 this year, I finally found out that I had ADHD, and that explained many things. It also gave me the opportunity to look for treatment and medication. My mother is a neurologist, which helped me a lot. I began to concentrate better, and soon, almost all the pain was released. I was no longer guilty of how it was in the past, because in the end everything made sense. I started to watch videos talking about ADHD, which my mother recommended to me. Many people find out thanks to these videos that have ADHD. I started digging into a wide range of information, thanks to the hyperfocus power that allows this condition. Little by little, and up to now, I understand all the patterns that I have to live with ADHD. I understood why I like to do good, why I seem to be 3 years behind in my growth. Why do I talk so much and about so many random things? Why do I choose to be the clown of the group, and at the same time the nerd of the room? And why I empathize with a character like Pooh? I reflected on it without knowing it, because it is known that this character probably has ADHD. I learned that all this will make me who I am, and that I probably have a mission to fulfill. Leave this video as a reminder of the fact that you can live with ADHD. Just at my 22 years, I was experiencing a very important change in my life, and how I would have liked to know this much earlier. 2 months have passed since I received my diagnosis. 2 months learning to accept me as the person I am, and realizing that I am not the only person who feels like that. I used to think that everyone else should be happy with themselves, and that I was a weird creature that will never fit. But now I know that that is not true. There are millions of people who fight with mental problems day by day, and we have to support each other very much. We have to understand that we all have our own struggles, and that nothing happens to feel how we feel. It is good to feel like a weird creature because we are weird creatures. Nothing happens to feel strange because we are strange. Nothing happens to feel that you are different because you are. It is good to feel that you do not belong anywhere because you do not belong. I have struggled with anxiety and depression for as long as I can remember. I've gone through several symptoms: slow cognitive processing, extreme hyperactivity, hypergraphy. I started writing without being able to stop, and many others that were appearing on the way. I have never been able to enjoy most of the things that the people of my age enjoy. My companions called me a stupid. They put me in fights that I did not look for, and I always ended up apologizing to them. I forgave people easily, even if they didn't deserve it. I tend to be kind to everyone. I worry a lot about the people who suffer, and I always try to help them, although I do not know how to do it. They have told me that I am too kind, and that it is not healthy. I have been bullied during school, and I hated every moment of it. I tried to hide it from everyone, but it affected me a lot. And now I am here telling my story. I am here to tell you that nothing happens to feel how you feel. You are not alone. There are people who feel like you, people who feel that they do not belong, and that there is something wrong with them. And you know what? Nothing happens to you. You are not broken, you are not damaged, you are you, and you are perfect as you are. I'm here to tell you that it's okay to feel anxious, depressed, lonely, and without hope. Damn it, you know what? A lot of geniuses in the history have ADHD. Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas Edison, Beethoven, Steve Jobs, Isaac Newton, Walt Disney, Mozart, Michael Phelps, Jim Carrey, Adam Levine, Ryan Gosling. The list is endless. And all this leads me to my point. Society does not want people like us. But the truth is that the world needs more people who can think outside the box. History needs people with ADHD to make a change. And that change depends on people like us. We have to learn to love ourselves and accept our differences. We have to be aware of what we are and defend those who do not have a voice. We have to prove that they are not alone and that they are beautiful as they are. It is time to end the stigma that surrounds mental illnesses. It is time to start loving ourselves and support ourselves. It is time to be who we really are and to stop hiding from the world. I am Juan Joalas, and I am proud to have ADHD.